You know, when the WHA formed to battle the NHL for Major League supremacy, we knew that it was going to cross over to the football ranks. Now, this team was just like some WHA squads, exorbitant spenders trying to get the best talent out there. A lot of controversy, and long after the teams were done to WHA, this WFL squad was still in legal limbo regarding lawsuits and lost money and what they call broken contracts. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the only champion of the World Football League. A lot of people felt they were going to be the Dallas Cowboys of the WFL, and for a while they had a great level of success. The pride of Birmingham, Alabama, the Birmingham Americans, or the AMs they were called. Now, they were in the Central Division of the WFL, that four-team category. They were founded in late December 73, and again, played in their first season in 74. Now, the squad was owned by William Bill Putman, doing business as Alabama Football Incorporated. Now, they played their home games at Legion Field, and were most successful of the WFL franchises. They led the league in attendance and won all of 13 of their home games, developed a reputation for cover behind victories and winning by narrow margins. They finished the regular season at 15-5 and won the 74 World Bowl by 1 point over the Florida Blazers. Now, they were financially unstable due to investor reluctance and lavish signing bonuses paid to lure NFL players to the association. Unfortunately, the team folded after 1 year. Most of the squad's assets were seized to pay back taxes. Failed lawsuits to recover the signing bonus money also kept the team in headlines long after the WFL was itself defunct in 75. The Americans were replaced as the Birmingham WFL franchise for the 75 campaign by a new squad called the Birmingham Vulcans. Now, Putnam was awarded an expansion franchise for Birmingham and secured a lease to play at Legion Field. The 5 original investors in Alabama Football Incorporated were all Alabama businessmen. Now, between them, they had already invested $1.5 million in the franchise and hoped to find 10 investors in Birmingham to buy in for an additional $150,000 each. Now, unable to find local investors for the squad, Putnam threatened to move the Americans from Birmingham before the start of the 74 season. However, when more than 10,000 season tickets sold before the first game, the team's position in Birmingham was secured for the year. Now, Vince Costello, who was an AC with the Bengals, was chosen as the new head coach GM. However, a few days after the announcement, he turned down the job to become an assistant with the Dolphins. Now, Birmingham looked north as Jake Gada, the highly respected head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders of the CFL, was hired. Gada put together a solid squad, including veteran quarterback George Byra, rookie passer Matthew Reed, wide receiver Dennis Holman, running back Charlie Haraway of the Redskins, and former St. Louis Cardinals and Auburn standout safety Larry Willingham. Now, Johnny Musso, a former Alabama fullback who had played with the BC Lions, was the Americans' first-round pick in the WFL's pro draft in March of 74. Now, Birmingham selected 42-year-old retired pro basketball player and former Atlanta Hawks head coach Richie Garrett in the 40th and last round of the draft, drawing laughter from the audience. Radio play-by-play duties were handled by Larry Matson, with color commentary provided by a series of guest announcers. Now, Birmingham was the Central Division along with Chicago Fire, Memphis, Southland, and Detroit Wheels. The team began training camp on June 3rd at the Marion Military Institute in Marion, Alabama, and broke camp in July. The Americans played a 20-game regular season schedule with no preseason squads. The team, however, did play one controlled scrimmage against the Jacksonville Sharks on Saturday, June 29, 74. Most games were played on Wednesday nights with nationally televised games on Thursdays. The Americans won their first 10 games, finished the regular season 15-5, in second place in the Central behind Memphis. Midway through the season, the WFL-PA was formed, and the Americans' fullback Charles Haraway was elected to serve as first president. Alfred Jenkins was named the team's MVP for the 74 season. Now, the first game was played on July 10, 74 against the Southern California Sun in front of 53,000 people at Legion Field. Now, the first road game, the Americans won their first game 11-7 in their first road contest. They overcame a 26-point deficit at halftime to win 32-29 over the New York Stars at Downing Stadium on July 17, 1974. Now, the second home game, a 58-33 win over Memphis, drew an announced crowd of 61,000. Now, a lot of free tickets, of course. Now, as the season went on, they were having some problem at the start of the second half as they played 4 games in just 2 weeks, and their 10-game winning streak came to an end. Now, the Americans drew a lot of interest with their nationally televised September 19 home game against the Houston Texans, which proved to be the last WFL game for Houston, as the following season the Texans were taken over by the league and relocated to Shreveport. Now, only 33,000 fans showed up, and a lot of people felt the drop in attendance was, of course, because of the start of the college football season. Now, October 2nd, they lost 14-8 to the Hawaiians in Honolulu in front of 12,000 fans. Now, the big change as well, on mid-October, American team president Carol Stahl would announce that the team's remaining home games would start at 7 p.m. to make it easier for early rising fans than the original 8 p.m. kickoffs. Also, the Americans' game schedule was adjusted to accommodate the league's shifting and struggling franchises. The October 23rd game against the Shreveport Steamers, scheduled for Birmingham, would be played on the road in Shreveport instead, and in return, their November 13 matchup was relocated from Shreveport's State Fair Stadium to Birmingham's Legion Field. Now, big loss, of course, to the Steamer that year, 21-0. Now, they did have a 500 record in the second half of the campaign, but it was enough to finish second, behind Central Division winning Memphis at 15-5, and allowed them to take the wild card spot to the 6-team playoff series, and also earned them a bye in the first round. Now, after earning a bye from the quarterfinal playoff, they bet the Western Division winning the Hawaiians in the semifinals 22-19 in front of 15,379 fans at Legion Field. Now, they advanced to the World Bowl, the WFL's championship game on Thursday, December 5th. Now, the players had been unpaid since early October, and the Americans players staged a walkout on the Monday before the title game, demanding back pay. The players returned when team ownership promised to buy each player a championship ring if they won. The game went forward, and Birmingham bet the Blazers 22-21. The game was played with 32,000 fans in the stands, over 20,000 fewer than had witnessed the Americans' first game just 5 months before. Again, this was the only title game ever played by the WFL, as it folded 12 games into the 74 regular season. Now, again, they started the campaign 10-0, with wins over the Southern California Sun, the New York Stars, Memphis Southwind, Detroit Wheels twice, the Hawaiians, the Sharks, the Fire, the Blazers, and the Fire again. From then on, they lost 3 of their next 4 games, and lost 2 straights in week 16 and 17, but won 3 straight to end the season. Now, in early November 74, Alabama Attorney General Bill Baxley filed suit in Jefferson County Court for a tax lien against the team's property. The suit sought to recover the $30,000 in state income withholding taxes and more than $57,000 in sales taxes for August and September, plus the then undetermined amount due from October 74. Now, the judge ordered Jefferson County Sheriff to attach the property, real, personal, and mixed to the defendant, whether it be in Jefferson County, and the team also admitted owed roughly $14,000 in back sales taxes to both Jefferson County and the city of Birmingham. Now, the Bernina Motel, where the coaching staff had his officers evicted the team for down payment on November 14th. At that time, the Americans had not paid their players for 5 weeks, nor the staff and coaches for 2 weeks. On November 18th, the IRS filed its own tax liens, about $250,000 against the Americans and $160,000 against team owner Bill Putnam. Now, Putnam announced at a press conference that he was trying to raise the funds to pay the team's debt. He reported that the team had taken about $2.3 million in gate, with only $300,000 short of operating the club, but revealed that the team had also paid out over $1.2 million in bonuses to future players. He asserted that the team would not be in such dire financial straits if that bonus money would have been paid. He said he needed $750,000 by November 28th so the team could pay back taxes due to the state and the salaries of the players. Now, he said if the money comes from Birmingham, we'll stay here, but if the money comes from the people in Timbuktu, we'll want that team in Timbuktu. Putnam said a group from New York was interested in purchasing the Americans, and he speculated that one reason he had been unable to secure local money to invest in a franchise, it was that local interests were still hoping to bring an NFL franchise to the city. Now, the gate receipt situation was going on at the time, and get this, Hibbett sporting groups have provided uniforms and football equipment to the Americans, but still have not been paid $38,000 by the end of the season to soak up the bill. Immediately after the championship victory, members of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department seized the team's equipment and uniforms from the locker room. 1 week later, Hibbett Sporting Goods began selling the reclaimed gear as souvenirs and Christmas presents in the retail stores. Now, at the time, Oakland Raiders quarterback Kenny Stabler, when the season started, signed a contract with them in '74. In January '75, a circuit court judge found that the team was in arrears on payment of the remaining $30,000 due to Stabler of the $100,000 he was guaranteed for '74, and so ruled that the Americans were in breach of contract, and thus Stabler was released. The 3-year deal was out to pay Stabler $100,000 in both '74 and '75, while he played out his contract option to Raiders and $125,000 for the '76 season. When he would have been playing for the Americans. So this is how it worked. They had signed him for '74 and '75 to secure him for '76. Now the judge ruled Stabler released from his contract and voided any debt to him by the then struggling Americans franchise. Now, while as successor to the Americans, the Vulcans were a different organization in ownership from the Americans and did not assume any of their debts or obligations. The IRS seized the Americans players' contracts owned by the Vulcans and placed them up for auction in March '75 to pay the team's $250,000 in overdue taxes, but a judge ruled all of these player contracts breached and have no value. In any case, the auction was canceled when a judge ruled that Birmingham Trust National Bank had a valid prior claim to the contracts. Now, they eventually lost the franchise due to the team's chronic financial woes, and Putnam eventually sued the league in response, demanding to be compensated with the rights to the possible move to New York City. However, the suit went nowhere. Now, on March 7, '75, Ferd Well, as president of the board of directors of the new WFL franchise in Birmingham, announced that the Birmingham WFL team for '75 would be called the Vulcans. A name previously registered by a group of Birmingham businessmen who had been trying to secure an NFL franchise for the city. The Vulcans began selling shares of stock to the general public for this proposal, priced at $10 per share, and sold only in blocks of 10 shares. The team hoped to raise $1.5 million with this offering. The Vulcans officially secured the Birmingham franchise in April of '75. When the WFL folded for good 12 games into the season, the Vulcans, of course, a great place for football down here, had the best record. Now, Kenny Stabler was not the only NFL player that the Americans signed to contracts who never played for the WFL team. Detroit Lions wide receiver Ron Jesse was paid a $45,000 signing bonus in early '74 to begin playing with the Americans in the '75 season after completing his option year with the Lions. Now, for the Dallas Cowboys, defensive tackle Jethro Pugh and OT Rayfield Wright each received $75,000 signing bonuses, while with Pugh set to start playing for the Americans in '76 and Wright in '77. Steelers defensive end L.C. Greenwood received a $50,000 signing bonus to play from 1975. However, when the team folded, both the WFL commissioner and a federal judge ruled that the player contracts had all been voided. These players remained in the NFL, playing neither for the Americans nor the Vulcans. Now, Bill Putnam and his company, still the legal owners of what little remained of the Americans' assets, made headlines throughout the late '70s when he sued these NFL players, claiming breach of contract to recover the signing bonus money. The players were ultimately able to keep the money after the 5th U.S. District Court of Appeals ruled in their favor. Now, financially devastated, former Americans team president Carol Stallworth became a bartender in a downtown Birmingham sports bar in early '75. Most of the former Americans players signed out with the Vulcans for the WFL season. Notable exceptions included star players Haraway, Alfred Jenkins, Paul Robinson, and veteran quarterback Myra. The Birmingham Bulls of the WHA held a Jake Goddard night on December 26, '76 in honor of the former Americans head coach, and this makes a lot of sense because John Bassett owned the Birmingham Bulls. Now, great Canadian and Toronto-based entrepreneur. Now, by July '76, Putnam was working to buy a WHA franchise and relocate it to Hollywood as the Florida Breakers. The team was planned to start playing October '76 with the Hollywood Sportatorium as its home ice. In August '76, Putnam announced that the plan had collapsed, but he would continue his attempts to bring hockey franchise to South Florida. Now, fans of the team organized a reunion celebration on July 9 and 10, 2004 in honor of the 30th anniversary of the Americans' first game played on July 10, '74 against the Southern California Sun. One reason for the festivities was to help pay for the promise of World Bowl championship rings that many players did not receive from the financial flagging franchise. Dayton Daily News sports writer Chuck Ludwig discovered the omission while doing research for a book. He used his investigative skills to find that Johnson Manufacturing in El Paso made the original rings and could create replacement rings for $8.09 each. The story received national attention, which prompted Nestle and the AF2 Birmingham Steel Dogs to help sponsor a reunion at the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in Birmingham. Now, as of April 2010, 3 former American players have been inducted in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Muscle Shoals native Dennis Hallman, who also played in the Super Bowl V for the Cowboys, was inducted in the class of '99. Oxford native Terry Henley, who also played pro football for the Atlanta Falcons, Washington Redskins, and the Patriots, was inducted in the class of 2000. Coleman native Larry Willingham, who also played for the Cardinals and retired for medical reasons in '73, but made a comeback in '74 with the Americans, was inducted in the class of 2003. Willingham and Henley were also elected to the Auburn Tigers football 1970s team of the century. Now, if you want to read up some background articles on this, there was an AP story in 1975 about Stallworth becoming a bartender. The apex of the World Football League and the ESPN article from 2010. An original story in the Tuscaloosa News about the Americans, and a whole bevy of articles. Now, what was kind of weird about the WFL, ladies and gentlemen, we're not getting much media coverage outside of the States. Now, we all know that the NFL has done baffle business in Canada in many levels, and that was anywhere from 10 to 15% of their ad revenue and TV revenue. So that was negative at the part. But if it was done right, if they would have made the WFL a spring league right before the CFL and played 12 games, but to give pre-signing bonuses for 2 years to certain key players, especially someone as big as Kenny Stabler, kind of bizarre. So basically Stabler got all this money, and there's no guarantee in what they call rebel leagues that something's going to work. You have a lot at the first 6 months, but Birmingham had a really good team. I did see some highlights of them, and they were comparable to USFL squads of the early 80s. And let me tell you something, like I said, Birmingham's a great place for sports. We all know that. It's a shame it never worked, because I think the team itself would have been a nice, what's the saying, a nice alternative to some of the southern NFL teams that really have done nothing besides lose in key situations. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of the Birmingham Americans on this stormy Saturday in the Maritimes. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget The WFL had talent, but he didn't have two things that you need to survive: money and the right direction. Have a good day. Bye.